Let me introduce you to Doug and Gail Cheeseman. They are the founders of Cheeseman Ecology Safaris. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. Fantastic.
Hello.
Thank you.
So tell us, what is an ecology safari?
We started this in 1980. We'd actually been leading trips for other companies, and we decided that we wanted to do wildlife safari where we actually work with people and educate people about habitats and environment and talk about overall things in nature, ecology. So it would be birds, mammals, reptiles, insects, and how they adapt and fit together in the environment.
So I know the year is young, but you've already been traveling to a couple of interesting places. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, we were just in Antarctica. We chartered a ship called the Polar Star where we take 94 people and we have 15 staff, and it's a long trip to the Antarctic. So we start off from Argentina, from Ushuaia, the furthest most city, and then take the ship to the Falklands and spend 3 days doing landings there. And then it's another 2.5 day travel to South Georgia, which is part of the Andes, really, but it's a sub-Antarctic island, and we spend 6.5 days there. And from there, head to the Antarctic Peninsula and do a lot of landings there. So it's a 28-day trip, and we do
the whole month of January.
The whole month of January, so about 29 days of landings. And Gail will talk about, we came home for about 7 days and off to Africa, and Gail will talk about Tanzania and Kenya. So.
Oh, well, this is my favorite place on the planet, Tanzania and Kenya. So we go to Tanzania first and spend 2 weeks there, and then on to Kenya for 1 week. And this year we left just before a big flood on the river where we were staying, which had been dry for 2 years. So every year we go, well, we usually go 2 times a year to Tanzania and Kenya, and very exciting place to go.
Yeah, we've done 54 safaris there, but we never get bored. You know, people say, oh, how can you go to the same place all the time? Well, the wildlife is amazing. We see over 70 species of mammals and 300 species of birds, and the interactions and the behavior, and not just the big five, the lions and the rhino and the elephants, but just everything, and the interactions of the animals, including the smaller ones, is pretty amazing. And the people are fantastic too.
So what inspired you to get into this business?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I guess
dyed-in-the-wool environmentalists.
Yeah, that's
everything to do with nature. We just want to see it stay forever.
I guess that's it. You know, I was a biologist long. I started the bio department in '67 at De Anza College, and I taught micro for a couple of years, but I taught mainly zoology and ecology and some molecular biology too. But I'd get students out in the field like Point Reyes Bird Observatory or San Francisco Bay and Coyote Hills Regional Park and Palo Alto, the Baylands, and I'd get them and talk about wildlife. And Gail would be leading Audubon trips for Santa Clara Valley Audubon, and we always were keen on education for people and teach them about nature. And I guess we started thinking about, and Ted, our son, was quite keen, and our daughter too, but our son was very keen on nature and saving habitats. So I guess it was really a follow-up. In 1980, we started our own company and just did 1 trip a year, except on a couple of sabbaticals. We did 2 or 3 those years, 84 and 92. And I was going to retire in 98, so I took a reduced contract a couple of years. We started leading more trips. In 98, after I retired, we just expanded. But we have a cap on the number of trips. We want to keep our finger into it, so we really control it. We don't want to get any bigger. We have over 10,000 on the mailing list, but we don't want it to get any larger than it is.
So you're obviously passionate about ecology. I noticed that you practice what you preach. You've got solar panels on the roof. You've got an electric Tesla in the garage, and you're involved in so many things. The Audubon Society, I understand.
Yes.
So you bring it all into your daily life.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in fact, I probably think about it, and Gail too, pretty much all day long. You know, unfortunately, sometimes at night I can't sleep when I see environmental battles that we might lose or might not be able to win, or our Congress perhaps not really working for the people sometimes, and I get really frustrated. You know, so but yeah, we're pretty involved, and I think it's our 100% a day, every day. You know, so that's what we believe in, and it is a passion. So.
Let me introduce you to Ted Cheeseman. He is involved in a project called Carbon Tree. Tell us about that, Ted.
Well, most of my work is for Cheeseman's Ecology Safaris, but a couple of years ago we decided to offer to our clients carbon offsets so that they could offset the emissions created by traveling with us, and we're really frustrated by the meaninglessness of what we saw available in the market. So we decided, myself, and a graduate school colleague and a couple other folks, Gail, my mother, as a board member, and a couple other folks, decided to start our own endeavor attempting to preserve tropical forests, which is one of the most, it's a very, very efficient way to keep carbon out of the atmosphere, to stop cutting tropical forests. You hear these plans to reforest. Well, that's great, except for why reforest when the forest is still being cut down? So it's a very cost-effective way to protect forests. It's a very cost-effective way to keep carbon out of the atmosphere, and has a lot of environmental benefits, keeping forest, obviously, great habitat. So that's what we're working on. We have a couple of projects in the works in Peru, big pieces of protected areas that aren't very well protected right now. There's a lot of illegal logging and grazing going on in these, where the plan is to develop a project which stops the illegal logging and thereby, protects the forest.
So, Ted, you were talking about local support you're getting from Google and this exciting database project. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think this is a really excellent piece of a way to get locally and individually involved with forest protection, which is that when we donate money to rainforest conservation group, it just goes off into the ether and we never see the end result of this. What we're working on is a way so that if you donate, say, $50, you can then go to our website, this is under development, and zoom in and see exactly the piece of land that your money went to protecting. So you can really see a piece of your forest and know locally what has happened to benefit the tropical nations.
So, Doug and Gail, if I want to come on one of your safaris, what's coming up soon?
Oh, we have a really great trip coming up in end of July and August. And people can take it separately, but we have a Tanzania trip that's 2 weeks and a Kenya trip that's 2 weeks. So it's pretty much the month of August. But it starts, I think, July 29th to 30th. And so you can do 2 weeks of Tanzania and 2 weeks in Kenya, or you can do them together, because you're paying for the airfare. And if you can take 4 weeks off from work, that's brilliant. A lot of people can. So we split up the trips. And what we would do in the Serengeti, we would follow the wildebeest and see a lot of the other animals too, like cheetahs and lions and some of the jackals and other things, and see as they move in the migration towards the northern part of the Serengeti. And then we'd end up in Kenya on the second safari, or in Kenya, or the second half of the safari, if one prefers, where we see the migration occurring in Kenya. So it's pretty exciting.
We watch the Mara River where the wildebeest and zebras are coming across, because there are lots of crocodiles there and lots of exciting things happening there.
It's a photographer's paradise. I mean, people fill 216 gigabyte cards per day or more. It's just crazy because, there's so much to see. And I'd say of any place on the planet, you can see more mammals than anywhere else and see more behavior in a short period of time.
Which brings to mind that later in the year we have 3 Australia trips, and that's probably the second best place to go for mammals, although lots of them
That's in October, yes.
October. And 2 of them still have space, so we'd love to have
and then you get
folks
the special
from Saratoga. We have had a lot of people from Saratoga go on a safari, so yeah, great. We always love to have more Saratogans. Yeah. We just feel so lucky that we found this location, because we're just 1 mile from the village, and we have the whole valley view and a small house, only 1,700 square feet, and our son now uses the old bedroom that he had as his office, so we fit everything in and are very comfortable.
Yeah. But it's neat to be out in nature, and I think to answer your question about Saratoga, I think Saratoga is trying to save what it has, and I think that's really important, and the city council seems to be working on trying to save, and a lot of volunteers who work to save what's there, what's here, and don't go for wild development, which is kind of cool.